Welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Good to see all of you after a week. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms, so go ahead and subscribe there. Also part of Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can see me there on Sundays and Thursdays. Now, if you have not already, go ahead and give a like to the stream and also subscribe to my Substack at jaybefaunt.substack.com. What this does is it gives you email notifications whenever I go live, upload clips, or write any articles. So those of you who are already subscribed to the Substack, about 20 minutes ago, you guys got a notification that I was going to be going live and the subject matter which we'll be talking about today. So you guys got that. If you would like to, you guys can also click the link bell that notifies you either for occasional streams or all streams, whatever you wish. Either that or Substack is fine. I rather Substack because that gets it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, so you guys can actually get it straight from me. But that's how you can do it, so you guys can catch my content. Also, just want to give a shout out to everybody that's watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Rockfin, and Rumble. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful afternoon. It is going to be a great show. I have a couple of topics that I'm going to be talking about, and I think it is worth your attention, especially if you are a young male between the ages of 18 and 26. I'm going to talk about that. And also, I also would like to direct your attention to if you plan on voting for Biden or Trump, you need to also listen to this stream. It's going to be a good one. So while we get ready to do that, I want to say hello to everybody that's watching on the chat. Good to see everybody that's in here. We're starting off with Terry Connolly coming in saying, greeting JB and fam. So good to have you, Terry Connolly. Extra Boya coming in saying, is that live long and prosper? Yes, that is live long and prosper. Thank you so very much. Black Unit Griffin coming in saying, what's up? What's up? What's up? Oh man, you getting me the memories of watching Martin. Jacqueline saying, hey, Jaybefaunt, hey, Terry Connolly, good to see you, Jacqueline. CBC voter coming in saying, happy Tuesday at JB. Says, I missed the ceiling fan. The funny part is the ceiling fan is still on. Well, this ceiling fan is on. It's the ceiling is actually higher, so you can't see the ceiling fan in the video. But needless to say, it's a blowing. So yes, it is good to see you in here too. Miguel H coming in saying, hey, Jaybefaunt. So good to see Miguel in here too. Zoe coming in saying, I like the chartreuse, James. Thank you. I was just like, it's kind of, let's get a little lush in here. Let's get a green popping. We just about in the summertime, so it's trying to brighten it up, so that's what I try to do. So thank you so very much to see you in here as well. And just to let you guys know, I'll be getting back to doing my readings as regular too, because I kind of fell off on that because unpacking, the move, everything, it's a lot. So I'm just trying to get myself back into the swing of things. So I'll be doing that as well. Oh, by the way, just to let you guys know, I'm going to let you guys know what I have going on next week. And I'll make this announcement at the end of the stream as well. Next week, I'll be having on a guest for next Tuesday. Andre Stackhouse will be joining me next Tuesday. So we're going to be talking about, if you guys remember, Andre Stackhouse was part Pole, Washington. Well, he's running for office, and so we're going to be talking about that as well. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. So I hope to see you all here next Tuesday. Also, this Saturday, I'll be talking to Marcus Cage from the Political Matrix. So I'll be talking to him as well. So this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be talking to him and going over some news stories as well, just to have as a guest to, kind of play off a little bit and bounce off some some thoughts and analysis as well. So I can't wait for you guys to join in with that. While I'm saying that, if you guys are not subscribed and also watching RBN, which I am a part of, you guys need to be there for this Tuesday. The reason why I'm saying this is because it's going to be a big reparations panel. So we are going to be talking about reparations for ADOS. How does this repair America? So we're going to have Marcel Dixon, Jamin Mason, Khalif Mitchell, Ali Bey, of course, with me and Savvy Sabs as well. So we're going to be having that conversation. It's going to be good. I don't care if you are not an American descendant of slave or if you are an American descendant of slave. It does not matter. This conversation needs to be heard by every single one of us. So be sure to be there at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Thursday on RBN. So that's going to be a great conversation. So I can't wait to have that discussion as well. So just to say hello to Metal Rat coming in, saying hi, JB. Good to see you, Metal Rat, as well. And then Roger Metal says, you said this Tuesday. Did you mean Thursday? I'm sorry. Yes, this Thursday. Yes. So if I said Tuesday, my apologies. But yes, this Thursday. So what are we talking about today? Well, wouldn't you like to know? Let's get into it. I cannot wait. So our primary story is going to be young men. Pay attention. Why do I have an arrow pointing to Biden saying your new boss? Kind of scary, don't you think? We're going to get into that. But our first story is going to be twins? Twinsies? Does Biden equal Trump? You have to vote for Joe Biden. If not, we're going to get Donald Trump. If you vote for anybody outside of Joe Biden, you're going to give us Trump. I've been lambasted with this phrase or a variation of the two for months now, right? Being on this channel, being on my Twitter page primarily, I get this all the time. I get this especially from Democratic voters and liberals who tell me every single time, well, if you're going to vote third party, you're voting for Trump. So you're going to vote in the second coming of Hitler, right? That's what I get told all the time. But then there are stories that come out or policy decisions by Joe Biden that come out, which it reminds me how much Trumpian Joe Biden really is. My question to people is, if I vote for Trump, am I going to get another Joe Biden? If I vote for Biden, am I going to get another Trump? If I vote for a third party and then either Biden or Trump wins, what's really the difference? That's my question. So when it comes to their policies, right? Policies on keeping the tax breaks for the billionaires, which Joe Biden has kept pretty much most of Trump's tax breaks. When it comes to Joe Biden's policy on the pandemic, really, he was no different than Trump, right? Both implemented the jab, both wanted to get people back to work as much as possible, and wanted to just end the lockdowns as quickly as possible. Joe Biden too. And both did nothing to truly help those of us that are workers and marginalized in this country during the pandemic to actually stay on a level field. So did they pay us to stay home? No, they did not. Did they cancel rent and mortgages for people while we go through a lockdown? No, he did not. There were so many different things that could have been done, but that weren't. That would have made the lockdowns easier for people to deal with. And it would have been a short period of time, and then we would have just got back to where we needed to. But no. Biden really reflects a lot of what Trump is and does. Also, let's not forget the continuous funding of the police and the growing of the police state. Now we have multiple cop cities that are popping up across the country, right? So the similarities to them, the lines between a Joe Biden and a Donald Trump are very blurred. Let me share this with you guys. And I'm going to talk to you guys, especially about the similarities between them in regards to immigration. But before I get to that, I want to share this because this comedian just opposed Biden against Trump. Biden and Trump.
People are upset with
pretty much the same. So this is from Amir Rahman. So I want to share this. Shout out to Amir Rahman for this as well. Let me make sure this is bigger. And full screen. It says, scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds.
People are upset with Joe Biden. I think because they either don't know or they forget the kinds of things Joe Biden's capable of, right? You might have heard of the 1994 crime bill in the United States, one of the most massive pieces of anti-crime legislation ever passed. Joe Biden was actually one of the people behind that. If you watch the video of Clinton signing it, Biden is one of the first people he hugs. But people forget that Joe Biden was also behind the 1986 Anti-Drug Abuse Act. And in that legislation, there was something called the 100-to-1 rule. 100-to-1 rule meant if you were caught with any amount of crack cocaine, you would get the same mandatory minimum sentence as 100 times the amount in powder cocaine. Same drug, different forms. So if you got caught with 50 grams of crack, the size of a Snickers bar, you would get the same 10-year minimum prison sentence as someone carrying a 5-kilo briefcase of powder cocaine.
First of all, let's stop there. So let's say eggs were an illegal substance. And while white people are more likely to have sunny side up, right? Black people were more likely to have scrambled. Now, if I had 2 scrambled eggs, right, on a plate, that would be, I would get 10 times more time in prison for somebody who has sunny side up. So a person who had 200 sunny side up eggs is equal to 2 scrambled eggs. So a white person who have a plate with 200 sunny side up eggs would get just as much time as me with only 2 scrambled eggs. Eggs, just different versions of the egg. That's what Joe Biden did. That's who he is. Might I remind you that, do you think somebody like Donald Trump would be against that? Let's continue.
White people, more likely to use powder cocaine. Black people, more likely to use crack cocaine. White people, the vast majority of cocaine users during the war on drugs. But of course, they were not the ones who were caught and arrested, and they were not the ones who filled up the prisons.
The president says he wants to wage a war on drugs, but if that's true, what we need is another D-Day, not another Vietnam.
The truth is, every major crime bill since 1976 that's come out of this Congress, every minor crime bill has had the name of the Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, Joe Biden, on that bill.
The Biden anti-crime bills are the toughest in a decade to pass the Senate. They bring all federal agencies, from the FBI to the Defense Department, into a direct attack upon illicit drugs. Delaware's own Joe Biden.
You must take back the streets. And you take back the streets by more cops, more prisons. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street.
Could you hear Donald Trump saying something like that? I could. In fact, he has. So what's the difference? The lines are blurred. The lines are blurred. Remember, they're virtually the same age too. They come from the same, they're cut from the same cloth, essentially.
They will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. We have no choice but to take them out of society.
Hang on, let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys remember when Donald Trump pushed for the Central Park 5 to be executed? He took out an ad, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times? He took out a full-page ad explaining why they should get the death penalty, even though it comes out that they were exonerated, all 5 of them, and the actual perpetrator of the sexual assault actually came forward. And wasn't it Donald Trump that still wanted them to be executed? They sound so much alike, don't they? Interesting.
That is white power. When you can destroy generations of a community with the stroke of a pen. Joe Biden was one of the most senior Democrats to push the Iraq War. 1 million dead. This is who we're dealing with.
So let's everybody make sure we understand one thing. If there is not a way to secure those weapons of mass destruction, this is an exercise in futility. If we can make the case that the threat is real and dire, that a free and democratic Iraq, if it could be accomplished, could have a cleansing impact on that part of the world and make our life easier significantly down the road if we do things right, that it is worth the price. Opening the gate in a way to the part of the world that needs to, at some point on their own, come into the 21st century.
That was a racist statement. That was very racist. Like they need to come into the 21st century as if they're a bunch of savages. Wasn't it Donald Trump who also said that during 9/11, he said he saw Muslims cheering for the Twin Towers to go down? So what's the difference? I don't see a difference. Those of you who are voting for Joe Biden, are you guys voting for a less orange Trump? Kind of scary when you think about it. Let's continue.
And then he kind of went quiet in the early 2000s, took a backseat during the Obama years. And then he completely lost it, like really, really lost it, right? My favorite Joe Biden clip is where he turns up to some press conference in Idaho and he's looking for the local congresswoman. And he's going, Jackie, where's Jackie? Is Jackie here? Jackie, where's Jackie died, bro. Jackie died. She had been dead for a month. He had to apologize to the family. Completely lost his mind. You seen those heartwarming TikToks where there's like an old man with Alzheimer's and he's lost his memory and he doesn't know where he is. He doesn't recognize his own family. And then suddenly someone plays his favorite song and he comes back to life. That's what genocide has done for Joe Biden. All right? He was lost. He didn't know who he was. Had the chance to greenlight a second Nakba, and Joe is back. The wonder years are back, baby. A lot of people want the Democrats to lose, understandably. A lot of people want the Democrats to be punished and to suffer a historic and humiliating defeat. And white liberals are very tense, right? They're like, is that what you really want? Is that what you really want? You want Trump to come back? You want Trump to win? What I want is for you to not lecture us on how to respond to a genocide you didn't try to stop, okay? You think that's a good idea? You think that's a good idea for your community? Because it's your community that's going to suffer if Trump comes back. People like you are going to suffer. What do you think of that? I think that a political system that ultimately makes you choose between genocidal dementia and cheeseburger-powered fake tan Hitler is a system worth overthrowing, okay? Maybe that is the conclusion you should be coming to instead of lecturing black and brown people on why they don't worship the Democrats, okay?
So that was a juxtaposition between Biden and Trump, right? The juxtaposition between Biden and Trump is like having a Pizza Hut and a KFC, right? If you don't want KFC, then you got to go Pizza Hut. If you don't want Pizza Hut, you go to KFC. But the people don't realize, because you're like, well, I'm going to punish KFC. Let's say you want to punish KFC by going with Pizza Hut, or you want to punish Pizza Hut by going with KFC. Either way, you're not punishing the owner, because the owner owns both. It's Yum Brands. That's the thing. They're owned by the same company. So the crazy part is, that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that when you are trying to punish and go for one side or another, when they're owned by the same person, right? Then what? Are you really punishing if you go with one of their brands or the other one of their brands? I'm going to punish this bathroom by using the his side versus the her side of the sinks. Doesn't make any sense, right? So that's the issue that a lot of people just do not think about. That the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are two wings of the same bird. How in the world are you going to punish that bird by plucking a couple of feathers from one wing, but you're going to leave the other wing intact? Like, no, it's the same bird. They're still going to poop on your window. So I'm glad I was able to do that, because with this juxtaposition that I wanted to frame that with was why I wanted to share this. This is a local article that came out. It says President Joe Biden faces first lawsuit over new asylum crackdown at the border. So let's get into this. It says a coalition of immigrant advocacy groups sued the Biden administration on Wednesday over President Joe Biden's recent directive that effectively halts asylum claims at the southern border, saying it differs little from a similar move by the Trump administration that was blocked by the courts. Said the lawsuit filed by the ACLU and others on behalf of the Las Americas Immigrant Advocacy Center and the Refugee and Immigrant Center for Educational and Legal Services, or RACES, is the first test of the legality of Biden's sweeping crackdown on the border, which came after months of internal White House deliberations and is designed in part to deflect political attacks against the president on his handling of immigration. So, as we can see, this sounds like something that people will be going after Trump over. But they're not the same. Come on, baby. Let's use our critical thinking here. It says the order Biden issued last week would limit asylum processing once encounters with migrants between ports of entry reached 2,500 per day and went into effect immediately because the latest figures were far higher at about 4,000 daily. The restrictions would be in effect until 2 weeks after those daily encounter numbers are at or below 1,500 per day, under a 7-day average, but it's far from clear when the numbers would dip that low. The last time was July 2020 during the pandemic. The order went into effect on June 5th, and Biden administration officials have said that they expect the record levels of deportations. So when people talk about, oh my God, Joe Biden's for open borders. Nope, just like Trump. Exactly like Trump. Title 42, anyone? Oh, geez. Says, but advocates argue that suspending asylum for migrants who don't arrive at a designated port of entry, which the Biden administration is trying to push migrants to do, violates existing federal immigration law, among other concerns. Says Biden evoked the same legal authority used by the Trump administration for its asylum ban, which comes under Section 212F of the Immigration and Nationality Act. That provision allows the president to limit entries for certain migrants if their entry is deemed detrimental to the national interest. So, for all intents and purposes, they're very similar. Let's go to this. Let's check it out.
So the Biden administration is reportedly expected to announce a new executive order protecting hundreds of thousands of undocumented migrants from deportation. And the new policy is poised to shield spouses of U.S. citizens, offering them work permits and an easier path toward U.S. citizenship. All of this comes after Biden's order that partially shuts off the asylum process in an effort to slow illegal crossings. News Nation's Stephanie Haynes is live in Grand Prairie, Texas, with more on this. You gave us a lot of information last hour. Can't wait to hear more. Stephanie, this all comes as a few months before the election, and we're clicking closer to that date.
Yeah, every single day gets a little closer, Laura. And so you can really see how President Biden is trying to toe the line here, really balance, beefing up border security with also addressing the needs of immigration advocates and, their issues that they have been raising for years. And so he's expected to announce this program, which will reportedly be called Parole in Place. And what that reportedly entails, Laura, is that there's going to be legal work options for people who have been living in the country illegally. And so they will be able to get work permits, and that will prevent them from facing any ramifications, potential deportation, as long as they are working towards getting that full path to U.S. citizenship. And notably, Laura, the president is expected to announce this on the 12th anniversary of DACA. That is the program that former President Obama started 12 years ago, which was this major protection program for children who were brought to the United States with their parents crossing the border illegally. That protected those children, around 800,000 of them, from deportation. So that was a big announcement then. He's doing that, not by coincidence on that same anniversary. But like any other executive action, Laura, there could be legal challenges. We'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out later in the week, Laura.
Yeah, and we're keeping an eye on the American Civil Liberties Union suing the Biden administration over their executive order halting asylum. So what more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, and that is something that we were really expecting, right? We were expecting that immigration advocacy groups would really come out and sue on this, because in their view, they say this flies in the face of federal law. It goes against federal immigration law. And they also say, Laura, that it's just way too similar to a policy that President Trump initiated back when he was president that was ultimately struck down by the courts. Now, when you reach out to the Biden administration, DHS, they say, nope, absolutely. This is an executive action that is completely lawful, not only lawful, but in their view, Laura, critical to be beefing up security at the border. And they say it's already having an impact. And so as long as it does that, it will remain in place. Now, by impact, we still have to wait to see those actual numbers. Data from the border comes in those 7-day averages. So until we get those solid numbers, we may just have to rely on anecdotal evidence of what's happening at the border. But the other thing I can tell you is, this being an action that, in President Biden's view, is really trying to bolster border security, cut back, or, at least deter illegal crossings. There are some criticisms from staunch border security supporters and also Republicans who say, yeah, this comes a little too late. We just heard from a Border Patrol Council member before in the last hour. He says too little, too late, but also, there are real questions about how in practice that this could play out, because they raise the issue that there might not be enough law enforcement at the border to, one, detain these people who cross illegally, and then also deport them, especially if they are from overseas and from a country with which the United States doesn't have diplomatic relations with, Laura.
The crossings across the border by undocumented immigrants, especially ones that are not seeking asylum, that are seeking asylum, I should say. The fault actually falls on Joe Biden too. Because who continued that war on drugs? What did we just see? Joe Biden continued the war on drugs, right? And continued to put people in prison, especially people that look like me, right? Over illegal substances that come from or that's manufactured in some of these countries that are below our southern border. If they had treated addiction to these substances as a health issue rather than a legal issue, then we most likely would not be in this situation in the first place. Nay, if we actually made it decriminalized at the very least, would these nations that people are fleeing from be destabilized like they are right now? You see, the issue is the illegal crossings at the border would be severely slowed if people didn't have to flee a country that was destabilized. And why is it destabilized? Well, this is where foreign policy and domestic policy converge, right? Because if we didn't have this war on drugs, and also if we weren't trying to control these countries with our puppets in their offices, in their political seats, and if we didn't keep these countries destabilized, then things would be more stable in those countries, thus making it so that these citizens would not have to leave. And they wouldn't have to risk their life and their kids' lives to come across the southern border to a country that doesn't really want them. Well, some people don't want them, but the people who want to exploit them, being the capitalist class, oh yeah, they definitely want them because, well, they need somebody to shaft. They need somebody that will work for damn near free. And so this is why you need to pay attention to foreign policy as well as domestic policy, because it literally affects you. Black people, especially those of you who may be American descendants of slaves, aka freedmen. A lot of us are upset because a lot of migrants are being treated better. I put better in air quotes because once they get a job, are they really treated better? No, not by their employers. They're more exploitable, actually. But they're treated better than we are by our governments, and that causes us to feel resentment. Because we feel, well, we've been here the entire time, and you guys aren't doing that for us, but you're doing more for the migrants. Do you know that's a manipulation tactic? The parasite class are literally using migrants to pit us against them so that they can keep us fighting against migrants. Because they don't want us uniting against the parasite class in order to take the system down and rebuild it anew. Do you really think a lot of these migrants really want to come here? They're doing it out of duress. And so I think one of the best things for us to do is to realize that the migrants are not the problem. It's not the illegals' problem. They're not the ones that caused this. The ones that caused this is the parasite class, the corporate dictators that actually run our government so that it's all out of our control and we're being used. So there are two victims on either side. You have the migrants that are coming across illegally out of duress because of the destabilization from our country, from our government. And then you have us that are also victims because they're being used to essentially work and be exploited. And then we're the ones that are not getting any of the benefits of being workers. But at the same time, we don't want to be working for these companies because we don't want to be exploited. But then we're left out into the cold. And so the corporate dictators play off of us both. They're playing black people versus brown people. And it's not any different than what the colonizers did, especially in African tribes. And here's what they did. what they would do is that they would prop up one African tribe over another. And this would cause resentment between the tribes. And then you have intertribal or cross-tribal conflicts. So then one tribe would back the colonizer. And then they would get the guns, they would get the resources, the weapons. And so then they would have more power. And so this is the same thing. They are literally trying to pit those of us who are more abundant in melanin against one another. It's the same old tactic. Same song, different dance. So that's how they do it. Colonizers don't come up with anything new, right? They just remix the same song. So that's why it is important for us to have solidarity with them. Now, do we also still fight for our people and ourselves and what we need? Absolutely. But we don't throw our fellow melanated people under the bus. And I think that's important. Now, I want to share, because we're talking about the similarities between Biden and Trump, I want to share something that Trump said. Sounds like something that Biden could say. Biden may say it a little bit more nicely, but it's pretty much the same thing.
I will comment.
So here's what Donald Trump said.
I will comment just quickly on the colleges and universities. It's a shame. I'm so proud of the New York's finest. They're great people too. I know so many of them. They're incredible. They did a job at Columbia, and likewise in Los Angeles, they did a really good job at UCLA. It was very much embedded. And just so you understand, this is the radical left. This is a movement from the left, not from the right. The right is not your problem, despite what law enforcement likes to say. The FBI director said that he worries about the right. Now, don't worry about the right. The right's fine. Worry about the left, because this is a movement from the left. These are radical left lunatics. And they got to be stopped now, because it's going to go on, and it's going to get worse and worse. And, you know, they take over countries, okay?
No. That's the corporate parasites, your buddies, Donald, but go off.
And we're not letting them take over the USA. We're not letting the radical left morons take over this country. You can't let that happen.
Oh, gosh. So he's cheering on the police for stopping students and faculty from protesting genocide. What's the difference between him and Trump? What's the difference between Biden and Trump? So when we talk about the difference between them, one fash, two fash, red fash, blue fash? I mean, and a lot of people will go, well, JB, you can say all that, you can complain, but what answers do you have? When your enemy only tells you there are two options, always realize there is always a third option. Do not let your enemy give you or set the terms for the options. They are your enemy. The corporate dictators, the corporate parasites, the parasite class is your enemy. Who are their lackeys? Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Do not let them set the terms. Why are you folding? Do not fold to these maniacs who sit in boardrooms. Don't do it. Therefore, it is up to you to realize that there is a third option. There are third and fourth options. You want to know who they are? I'll tell you. There are third parties. you could vote for if you're into electoral politics. If you are not into electoral politics and you want to do something different, you can build dual power. What does that mean? That means going outside of the systems in order to help your fellow people so that we don't depend on these capitalist systems. You could do things like joining organizations that have farms so that you can feed people outside of the system. You can do things like helping people in regards to mutual aid by helping them with, are you good at computers? Could you help repair their computers so that they don't have to buy another computer from one of these big corporations? Do you know how to prepare a phone? You can repair their phone, right? Are you good at, can you transport people without them having to rely on cars and transport? You see, one of the groups that did this was the Black Panther Party. They built dual power by doing a free breakfast program, but it wasn't just free breakfast programs. They also clothed the people in their community. So the clothing manufacturers who were part of the big corporations, they really didn't get, I mean, they were kind of left out, right? Think about the free clinic that they had. So they were building dual power that way. You also have the fact that the Black Panther Party was also patrolling and keeping their own neighborhood safe, making the police obsolete. The point is to make the capitalist system obsolete so that people don't need it anymore. So if you want to go a route outside of electoral politics, go ahead. Or if you want to go somewhere in the middle, guess what? We also have ballot initiatives to be voted on in many of our states. Here in Florida, we're going to be voting on the legalization of recreational marijuana in November. That's something that you could do. Or you can put up a ballot initiative yourself and push for something that actually benefits us instead of the parasite class. But there are ways. Do not give these parasites an inch. If you vote for Biden, you give the parasites an inch. If you vote for Trump, you give the parasites an inch. It is important to realize that if you want to fight Yum Brands, you do not go to KFC or you do not go to Pizza Hut, because either way you go, you're giving money to Yum Brands. Same exact thing when it comes to these politicians. And no matter what they say, no matter how much they tickled your chin, right? They say, oh, well, I'm going to do this. Oh, Medicare for all, Green New Deal. Don't fall for it, baby. They're not for you. They're just sloganeering so that you donate to their Act Blue. Their goal is to empty your bank account so that they can keep the parasites in power. This is why I say Biden equals Trump. That's a hard truth. Are you prepared to talk about it? Go ahead and give the stream a like. That pushes me out into the algorithm. Thank you so very much to everyone. About to go into the chat and see what y'all think. Let's go to Rockfin first. Actually, you know what? Instead, I'm going to go to Rumble first. Let's check the Rumble chat. I need to fix this so that I can get Rumble chats in here. Looks like we're good on Rumble. That is great. Let's go to the Rock then. The Rock to the Fen. Baby, get with me. All right. All right. Thank you so much for the tip on Rockfin. Roger Meadows says, think what's done in the states can't affect national? Think again, comrade. This was ran as a CBI amendment placed on the ballot by the voters, which they ratified. Take that, career politicians. Now off to get to the streets, to the states, SCOTUS. Okay, so I will play this really quick. I got to be careful though, because it's a local news, and local news sometimes they get kind of finicky. I'm not monetized, but we'll see. This should be interesting.
61% of North Dakota voters approved a measure setting an upper age limit on congressional candidates.
But our political reporter Justin Gick found out it may never go into effect.
This new measure says no person may be elected or appointed to serve North Dakota in the U.S. Senate or House if they are 81 years old by December 31st of the year immediately preceding the end of the term. Jared Hendricks, chairperson of the sponsoring committee, says the passage of this measure shows that people are sick and tired of politics as usual.
They feel very much that Congress doesn't represent them in some ways. And, I think part of that is the fact that we have career politicians that are in there for long periods of time, and they get disconnected from the issues that matter to real people.
Senator Kevin Cramer has been serving as North Dakota's junior senator since 2018. He says it's quite clear that this won't pass constitutional muster.
To sort of apply an arbitrary number, an age limit to who can run, limits the choices of who I can choose. And I just think that makes no sense whatsoever. I also think age is the wrong sort of criteria if in fact you want to pick a criteria.
Senator John Hoeven has been serving as North Dakota's senior senator since 2011. He, like Kramer, says it is not going to survive a constitutional challenge because it's a federal law and the state can't preempt that. And anyway, Hoeven says he believes it's up to the voters.
When they go to the ballot box, they make a decision on who they want to vote for or not vote for, and who they want to elect. And I always respect the right of the voters to make that decision at each election.
Although Hendricks says he knows there may be legal challenges to this new measure, he hopes other states might formulate this idea and that North Dakota can set a new standard. Hendricks says the new measure is supposed to go into effect immediately. However, the Secretary of State must certify all of the primary election results. Secretary of State Mike Howe says the county canvassing boards will meet June 24th and the statewide canvassing board on June 26th.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that, Roger. Appreciate it. And then you also put another link in here. Okay. So this is the article accompanying with it. North Dakota voters just approved an age limit for congressional candidates. What's next? I'll share that into the chat for everybody to take a look at. But yeah, that's proof that really you can change things through ballot initiative. So yeah, that's some of the answers to a lot of people's questions. So now let's get to the rest of the chat. I started a few chats because there's some people who I missed on the introduction, but we'll get to them too. So we have Swear Fairy coming into the chat saying, getting used to boredly responding and a billion times over. And what? Thank you so much for that, Swear Fairy. Good to see you again, by the way. Zoe says a new LA law will make it a crime to knowingly approach within 25 feet of a police officer while they're engaged in law enforcement duties and after the officer has ordered the person to stay back. That is crazy. And honestly, look, try to get those camera phones with the great zoom so you won't get arrested. But that's a crazy law, and that shouldn't be in effect. But yes, that's ultimately what they do. Like some of these laws are created to just keep us from holding police accountable. So definitely. Game.film, who is a Jaybefaunt channel friend, says Jay Bizzle on the ones and twos. Good to see you. All right. John Kemper says peace, solidarity, love and solidarity. Oh, I'm getting my signs mixed up. But good to see you, Blue Marvel. All right, Sakudo says, sup, y'all. Good to see you, Sakudo. Let me see. Who else? Randall Online says, I always say some of the people that hate immigrants don't have a problem with how Europeans became Americans. Can we talk about the people from Belarus and Ukraine that are coming here also, that are coming across the border? I don't see people complaining about them. Danai Bathia says, truth and succinct facts. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let me see. Metal Rat says, the immigrants are not getting more. The cities, but those crazy governors sent the migrants. The Democrat cities were just as crazy. The loony mayors there gave crazy promises too. Oh, Dr. Devon Price, our author of Laziness Does Not Exist. Good to see you in the chat. Says, great points. The same kind of racial factionalism was used by the United States to prevent indigenous and black solidarity here as colonization was happening too. That's also a really good point, because a lot of the people who are in, indigenous tribes and nations here in the United States, I mean, they wanted to keep us apart. They did not want us to unite, just like they don't want us to unite with, by all intents and purposes, the indigenous people that are below our southern border. That's pretty much what it is. And so when it comes to Biden and Trump, I see them so similarly because they want to keep that rift in place between us. But at the same time, they want to keep that exploitation in place. So it's like, we're not going to completely lock down the border, but we're going to make it seem like we're locking it down to, appeal to certain people on the right. But also at the same time, we still want that exploitation for the corporate overlords as well. But we also want the resentment to stay between the black people and the brown people so that they fight against one another so that we stay on top. And it's ridiculous. So thank you very much for that, Dr. Price. Holistic Radical says, same song again. U.S. version of white people invented around 1860 to divide rebelling black, white, and indigenous workers in Virginia. This is why racism is such a divider, because it causes white people to have resentment of, right? So then they think, oh, these black people are getting all that. Baby, it's the same thing. What they're doing to us black people, they did to white people when white people saw that we were getting special treatment. It's the cycle, baby. It's the same thing. So this is why it's important that we all unite. Now, when I say all unite, I mean that we do not risk ourselves uniting with people who don't want to see our liberation. No. None of us are free until we're all free, right? So we want to see liberation for everybody. The thing is that there are some people who have to get themselves out of that mindset. And we're all decolonizing as we speak. And so it is important for white people to realize immigrants ain't taking your jobs. Despite being 13% of the population, we black people, we're not committing 50% of the crimes. There's 50% of the arrests. And then over 50% of black people are also exonerated in the United States. We're the most exonerated group, which means that we ain't committing the crimes that you think we are. Okay? Trans people and gay people are not indoctrinating your children. Okay? So therefore, the people who you really need to be concerned with indoctrination, the real people you need to be concerned with taking your jobs away, is the parasite class. Those are the ones that you need to be concerned with. The rest of us, we just trying to live our lives, baby. That's it. That's all. Let me go to a couple more. We got Desert Mantis in the chat. Good to see you, Desert Mantis. All right. And yes. Black Unit Griffin says, did you hear about the Terrence Howard thing recently? I hear people trying to debunk him on some of the points that he made. I don't know exactly what. I'm not, like, I love science, but I'm not as proficient in science like I would like to be. But yeah, I hear about that. It's kind of interesting though. I listened to his entire speech. Was that at Oxford that he was giving a speech? It's above my head. But science is about questioning things and questioning the conventional ideas in science of the day could introduce us to new discoveries in the future. So, hey, if he's causing people to scratch their head, you know, so that there's more clarification about what the science community discovers and shows their evidence of, then hey, okay. But yes. All right. So I want to give a quick shout out to all the patrons on Patreon and Coffee, as well as anybody who gives me anything through PayPal. Thank you so very much to all of you. My channel is demonetized, so if you'd like to support the channel, you can support via Patreon or PayPal. And just to give a quick shout out to all patrons and new patrons that are with me now. So let's get into that. So we have new patrons on Patreon. So we have Mega Jaybefaunters, Super Duper Jaybefaunters, Super Jaybefaunters, Jaybefaunters, Comrade, Solidarity, JB members, and now we have new members, M.E. Lockberg and Christopher F. Laurie. Thank you so very much for becoming new patrons on Patreon. It means the most to me. It literally keeps the lights on. So thank you. All right, so we're about to get into our primary story for today. Young men, pay attention. I didn't know how I was going to start this segment, but this type of information makes me fearful for my nephews. In 11 days, I'll be 40, so I'm aged out. So I'm not worried about myself. I'm not worried about my boyfriend because he's aged out as well. But if you are a male between the ages of 18 and 26, you need to pay attention. Come in. Come in. Come to the screen. Pay attention right now. Do you hear me? All right. So this sack of demented disease yogurt wants to be your boss. Yes, he wants to be your boss. Do you want him to be your boss? I didn't think so. So the problem is potentially can happen because there was a new bill that was signed by the guy on the left. And if I were between 18 and 26 out and able-bodied, I wouldn't be too happy about it. So there was a recent bill that was signed. It was really the defense bill, the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, signed by President Joe Biden. And it also had a piece in it that I think is pretty concerning. And so, yes, I want to talk about it. One of the first people who spoke about it, I think it was Michael Tracy. Let me share here. Hang on. I had it. Sorry, let me I had it. All right. No. I passed it. Okay, here we go. All right, so let me share this with you guys really quick. Sorry about that. Long pause, but here we go. So this is the law that Michael Tracy was referring to. Michael Tracy says, wow, for the first time since 1972, the NDAA bill passed today by the House who would automatically register all males ages 18 to 26 for selective service in the military. For the past 52 years, males were required to register on their own, but compliance had reportedly been lagging. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what is selective service? Well, selective service really just gives the government a count of all males ages 18 to 26, just in case they want to bring back the draft. Now, I do remember having to register for selective service. Now, raised in the religion I was in, the organization I was in, we were told that you, of course, have to, obey the respective authorities because they were placed there by God and yada, yada, yada. So therefore, unless it does something that goes against God's law, then you have to respect, and go by the law. So by the law, meaning between the ages of 18 and 26, you had to sign up for a United States Selective Service. So me and my brother had to go to the post office and then sign that card and then give it to the people behind the desk. And then they sent it in and you were registered under United States Selective Service. Well, this was always a voluntary action. Even though you had to do it, it had to be done. You had to do it yourself, right? But now it's automatic. So it's Subtitle D, Recruitment, Section 531, Selective Service System, Automatic Registration. says automatic registration. The Military Selective Service Act is amended by striking Section 3 and inserting the following new Section 3. It says, except as otherwise provided in this title, every male citizen of the United States and every other male person residing in the United States between the ages of 18 and 26 shall be automatically registered under this act by the Director of the Selective Service System. It says this system shall not apply to any alien lawfully admitted to the United States as a non-immigrant under Section 101A.15 of the Immigration and Nationality Act for so long as he continues to maintain a lawful non-immigrant status in the United States. So they're making it automatic. And so you really don't have much of a choice. Somebody actually gave an explanation, a more detailed, nuanced explanation as to the Selective Service. So I want to go over that. Let me make sure I have this. Oh, nope, that's not what I want. And hang on. Okay. Found it. Oh my goodness. These things start playing immediately. Okay. All right. So I'm going to refresh. And then, because you can't. Oh, yes, you can. Nice.
How would the Selective Service System work if it was reinstated? It's important to note that the last Selective Service draft was in 1972, and it's not an active practice, but if the President and Congress were to reinstate it, here's how it would work. The first men drafted would be those turning 20 during the calendar year of the lottery. For example, if a draft were held in 2024, men born in 2004 would be considered first, men turning 21 would be second priority, and so on until a man turns 26. The process begins with 2 lottery machines. The first contains balls that are labeled 1 through 365 or 366 for leap year. The other has a ball for each possible month and day combination for the calendar year. In the presence of observers, media, and officials, 1 ball is drawn from each machine and the 2 make a pair. If, for example, the day May 15th was drawn alongside the number 48, then those men turning 20 on May 15th would be ordered for induction processing only after men whose birthdays drew sequence numbers 1 through 47. The drawings continue until every birthday has a sequence number, and that is how it works.
So that is Selective Service. So if they were to implement the draft, you basically get your name pulled out of a hat, and then you will be chosen for a military service. And if you didn't want to do military service, you go to prison. That's basically how it works. Don't believe me? Just ask Muhammad Ali. So that is what is going on. And why are they doing this? Why make this automatic? Well, remember, it said that the registration was down. Why is the registration down? I want to get into that too, because I think it's really, really important. Let's go here. So this is out of military.com. So this is why they want to do it, because they're scared. Because the military recruiting outlook is grim indeed. Loss of public confidence, political attacks, and the economy are all taking a toll. It says recruiting patterns in the military have increasingly come to reflect the nation's red state, blue state political divide, with recruiting strong in the South and Midwest, but lagging on the coasts. That's from retired Army Brigadier General Michael Meese said at Rand Court. When you look at it regionally, the North and West tend to be less positive on military service than the South and Midwest. So it says the implications. Are you serious? This was free. Hang on, guys. They're trying to make me pay. JB don't like that. Sometimes you got to reroute. All right. Says the implication, let me see, when you look at, let me say, the implications of that recruiting are problematic because where are you going to go to fish to fill out the ranks? Says the pattern has been in place for decades and should continue. Me said it should envision a time 50 years from now when the recruits from New York and Oregon would number in the single digits, and everybody else is going to be from Georgia and North Carolina, despite the ongoing efforts of the services to attract recruits nationwide. So it says report found out that Americans still think highly of veterans, but a majority, 54%, would recommend against joining the military, particularly in the enlisted ranks. However, nearly 2/3 of those surveyed said that they would tell a 17-year-old to join as an officer, either through the Reserve Officers Training Corps, known as the ROTC, or military academies. Although public still holds military generally in high esteem compared to other major institutions, that esteem is wavering, influenced by such factors as the end of the war in Afghanistan, the increased polarization of the public, and heightened politicization of the military. Says the RAND report found that several other surveys and studies last year that also showed a decline in the trust and confidence the public gives the military, resulting in another year of missed recruiting goals. In November, the annual defense survey by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute found that only a slim majority, 51% of Americans, will recommend that family and friends join the military, while 33% would discourage military service. This is why they are doing this, because they may end up having to bring back the draft, because ultimately they do not have the people to, they don't have the young bodies to die on the altar of capitalism like they had before. They need cannon fodder in order to expand the empire. But if you don't have the bodies to do it, well, then you got to force them. Kind of like what Ukraine is doing right now. The United States wants to do the same. Force you into military service. It feels like a setup to that. Am I wrong for thinking that? Am I crazy? But it feels like a setup to that. Anywho, let's continue. Says the 51% figure was a significant decline from the results of the 2018 Reagan Foundation survey, when 70% said they would recommend joining the military. About half the respondents to the foundation survey attributed the decline to so-called woke practices undermining military effectiveness and unit cohesion. In July, a Gallup poll showed that only 60% of the public expressed a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the military, the lowest mark since the poll since 1997. Republicans have been the most likely to express confidence in the military, and they remain so today, but the rate has declined by over 20 percentage points in 3 years, from 91% to 68%. Well, why would that be? You got to remember, I'll be 40 in less than 2 weeks. The Twin Towers came down in my senior year of high school. The Iraq War started when I was 19. So, needless to say, a lot of my generation saw war, and we saw that it was based on a lie. And so we're seeing what's going on in Iraq, Afghanistan, Somalia, Pakistan, and many other countries. And we're realizing that if that was based on a lie and we're being told that it's now based on oil, well, we don't want to go. And we're realizing that this is all based on the corporate parasites using our government and our military in order to force these countries into handing over their resources to them. Government is like a hammer. Who wields that hammer is the problem. The corporations are wielding that hammer. They're wielding the military for their own personal gain. And that's what we see today. They want to use your sons, and I say sons specifically, I say male specifically because that's what the bill says, in order essentially for the benefit of corporations. And now they want to automatically register them just in case they bring back the draft. There's more to it as to why the military recruitment is down. It says in July, a Gallup poll showed that only 60% of the public expressed a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the military. I just read that. It says the military also has to contend with drawing recruits from a stressed out society, according to the latest Stress in America survey conducted by the Harris Poll for the American Psychological Association and released in November. The pandemic, global conflicts, racism and racial injustice, inflation, and climate-related disasters are all weighing on the collective consciousness of Americans. Here, as you can see, capitalism is hanging itself by the rope it sold us with. Because of the greed causing all this stuff, the greed of capitalism causing the global conflicts, racism, racial injustice, inflation, climate-related disasters, this is all causing us to have a burnout, a stress. We don't want to deal with this. That's how it operates. Capitalism caused it, and now capitalism is going to meet its demise by its own hand. It says few of the respondents to the survey reported confidence about the direction of our country is going, 34%. Or they said they feel that their government representatives have their best interests in mind, 31%. The growing doubts about military service, coupled with other factors ranging from 1, low unemployment, to the prevalence of youth obesity and the closing of high schools to recruiters during the pandemic, have all contributed to fewer and fewer young Americans signing up for the military. Hang on, let me say this one thing. What does the military use to recruit young people? Well, they use free education, housing, and healthcare, right? Something that every single person in this country really should have as a human right, but yet they use it as a recruitment tool. But it's no longer working. And that's why they're scared. It's no longer working. They can't dangle the carrot in front of you anymore. They can't go, hey, kid, you want a house, for either low cost or free? You want healthcare for free or nearly free? Hey, you want an education without having to go into debt? Come on in, fight and lay your life on the line for the U.S. military. Guess what? We ain't falling for it. The kids ain't falling for it no more. They're like, nah, we ain't doing that. Instead of going into the military, now they're getting jobs in the private sector. They're working at Lowe's. They're working at Starbucks. They're working at Walmart. They're working for all these different companies. And guess what? Now, the unemployment rate is low. Now, a lot of people still ain't got no jobs, but they rather be unemployed than lay their life out on the line for these corporations because they know they peep game. They know what's what. They know what it's about. Also, it says youth obesity. Well, that's capitalism eating itself, baby. Because who pushed the salt, fat, and sugar so that we would eat more? So that we would consume more of their products? These corporations, these same corporations that want us to go abroad to fight for them so that they can put their corporations in these countries and extract their resources. These same corporations are the ones that push the salt, fat, and sugar and processed foods on us. But now, and saying this as a larger person myself, we're too fat to fight. We're too fat to fight. And whose fault is it? It's the person that made us fat. See how capitalism works? It sells you the rope it's going to hang itself with. That's what it does. And then it says the closing of high schools to recruiters during the pandemic. Well, the pandemic probably wouldn't have lasted as long if we actually did what was needed and then paid people to stay home and made the lock. And if we did a lockdown, it was a short lockdown, so that we could stem the, ride this wave and make out better. But they didn't do that because they were greedy. So, yeah. All right. It says in fiscal 2023, only the Marine Corps and Space Force, among the 5 service branches met their recruiting goals. The Army fell short by 10,000 of its goal, bringing on 65,000 active duty enlisted soldiers. The Air Force recruited only 24,100 of the 26,877 it wanted, and the Navy recruited 30,236 active duty enlisted sailors, well short of its goal of 37,000. The shortfall understates the challenge before us as the services lowered their end-strength goals in recent years, in part because of the difficult recruiting environment. So that's the Pentagon's Undersecretary Ashish Vazirani for personal readiness. So it says the result is that the all-volunteer force faces one of its greatest challenges since its inception in 1973, when President Richard Nixon ended the draft, and the demographics argue against a quick turnaround. He testified that fewer and fewer young Americans have a parent who served in the military, which greatly decreases the propensity to serve. Quote, in 1995, 40% of young people had a parent who served in the military, but by 2022, just 12% had a parent who had served. So this is true. My grandfather was a Korea War vet, and my uncle also was a military veteran. As far as that's concerned, as far as I know, nobody in my family who is younger than my uncle, who would today, if he was still alive, be in his 60s, it has not served in the military. Neither me nor my cousins have served in the military. None of my nieces, nephews, or second or third cousins have served in the military. That's a lot of kids. That's a lot of people. Guess what? Most people in my family have not served in the military, and it's dwindling. Says this has led to a disconnect between the military and large share of society. So this talks about how they tried to use the Top Gun movie as a military recruitment tool, which was a bunch of bullcrap because it was only nostalgic for those of us who are Gen X and Gen Y, aka millennials, because most of us, like, I've never even seen Top Gun. I'm a millennial, yeah, but I've never even watched it. And so they're trying to recruit. So I want to share with you guys this. This is the point. Traditionally, recruiting has been good when the economy is struggling and young Americans have difficulty entering the civilian workforce. But reports from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and other government agencies show that inflation is easing. The labor market is strong and unemployment was below 4% for all of 2023. Let me say this. For many of us, the economy is still terrible. We're just not going to take a job where we could die in order to have free healthcare, housing, and education. We're not going to lay our lives on that altar for the corporations. You see, it's a mix of things because while many of us probably could get into the military and do okay, we don't want to take that risk. We're not going to take that risk because ultimately we realize who the military actually serves. Now, this is not me saying anything against anybody who has served in the military or anybody who's currently serving in the military, but there is a truth that you have to come to terms with. You're not protecting the American people, you're protecting corporate interests. That's your job. You're an employee of the corporations. You're not actually protecting us. You're protecting oil fields. You're protecting poppy fields. You're really not doing much for the American people. Because ultimately, like, who are our enemies that are really trying to get at us? And you can say, well, these terrorists in the Middle East, they're trying to come after us. Not really, because ultimately, the only thing they really want is for us to get out. The biggest protection you can do for us here on the homeland is to get out of the Middle East. Get out of their land and stop trying to put in a puppet that oversees them to keep the resources in corporate hands. That's basically it. If you're serving in the military, you were lied to. I'm sorry, you were lied to. You were lied to by our government. You were lied to by the military branches. Because the people who are actually being protected really are the stock prices of Raytheon, Northrop, General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin. You're protecting their portfolio. And it sucks because they want you to think that you're living a greater purpose, but they're lying to you. And Gen Z and the upcoming Gen Alpha, they realize this already before so that they don't have to enlist. But now what the corporations are doing is they're pushing the politicians to force your sons and nephews and grandsons and siblings to fight for them, whether they like it or not. Or they at least want to keep the apparatus in place so that it's automatic, so that when they do decide to actually force them via conscription, then they have no choice but to fight or go to prison. Ultimately, that's the reality of the situation. Your government's held hostage by the corporate powers, by the parasite class. You don't think that doesn't affect their military? They're saying that, yeah, wokeness is part of the issue, but that's really just the whole wokeness thing is really just a recruitment tool. It's not actually, they're trying to make it more welcoming to different marginalized groups. But what good is having somebody who's black or brown, who is LGBTQ, that's bombing brown people in another country? Like, is that really a sobering thought? Is that something that actually just brings warmth to you? No. So the whole wokeness thing, that's a cop-out. Just wanted to say that. And there's nothing woke about the U.S. military. Nothing. So yeah, that's some of the reasons why. And they're scrambling because they really want to bring as many young people, particularly young men, into the military as possible. They want to at least have that door open for the draft. Who voted for it? Well, we have the roll call here. It's bill number HR 2670. So this passed 4 days ago. So if you want to go by Republican, 147 Republicans voted for it, and 163 Democrats voted for it. So it passed 310 to 118. Let's go to the Democrats first. Oop, I did not mean to. Okay. All right. So, looking here, I'm just trying to look for names that I would recognize. Jamal Bowman voted against it. Okay. Let me see here. Isn't that one of the Castro twins from Texas that? Hang on. I think that's one. Yeah, Joaquin Castro. Isn't he supposed to be this liberal? He voted for it. Interesting. Joaquin Castro voted for it. Quite interesting. Of course, James Clyburn voted for it. Jasmine Crockett, the lady that insulted Marjorie Taylor Greene, yeah, she voted for it. Henry Cuellar also voted for it, right? Let me see. Who else? Of course, Steny Hoyer voted for it. Sheila Jackson Lee voted for it. Pramila Jayapal, she voted against it. Of course, Hakeem Jeffries, his genocidal loving behind, voted for it. Ro Khanna voted against it, right? Let me see. Of course, Ted Lieu voted for it. Of course. Let me see. Bob Menendez voted for it. Jerry Nadler voted against it. Interesting. Okay. AOC voted against it. Ilhan Omar also voted against it. Of course, Nancy Pelosi voted for it. Mark Pocan voted against it. Ayanna Pressley voted against it. So it looks like the squad pretty much voted against. Sometimes a broken clock is right twice a day. So yes, let me see. I'm just trying to. Rashida Tlaib voted against it. I mean, I kind of expected Rashida Tlaib to vote against it, given her stance, especially what's going on in Gaza. Of course, Miss Washington Schultz voted for it, aka shrimp ramen noodles, voted for it. So, and Frederica Wilson voted for it. So yeah, that's out of the Democrat side. And of course, the Republican side, I'd be more interested in the Republican side who voted against it, because Republicans seem to be more gung-ho for defense. So who voted against it? Baird, not familiar with him. Let me see. Actually, you know what? Can I just hang on? Yay, I can do that. Okay. Who Republican that voted against it? See, Biggs, Bishop, Boosting, Burchett, Carter, Clyde Collins, Curtis Davison, Donalds, Duncan, Estes, Fishbach, Fry. Matt Gaetz voted against it? Holy crap. Matt Gaetz voted against it. Interesting. Why is Matt Gaetz outdoing some of these Democrats when it comes to being anti-war? Why? How in the world are you guys allowing yourself to be outdone by Matt Gaetz again? Oh my Lord. Pitiful. Pitiful. This is why, Lord, these people, I'm telling you. Let me see. Harris, Hearn, Higgins, Hunt, Jordan. Is that Jim Jordan voted against it? You guys are allowing these far right wingers to outdo you. And sometimes they'll vote against these things for the wrong reasons, but they'll do the right thing for the wrong reasons, but still, right? Of course, Thomas Massey voted against it. Let me see. Interesting. Well, it's funny how some people of the Freedom Caucus will vote against it, and they're in solidarity with the squad. Interesting, right? But yes, so it's just interesting how all this, it just, they want to basically put our young men in harm's way. And I honestly do think that when it comes to this issue, I think that one thing I'm happy about is that our young people see through the BS. They see through what the corporations are trying to do. And I say corporations, not government, because the corporations are they're the man behind the curtain, right? And so that's why I talk about the corporations. But it's kind of funny because Cardi B actually said something regarding this, and I thought it was funny, but I think I should share. Yeah. Now, pardon it's a little bit dark, but like visually it's a little bit dark, but this is definitely Cardi B once you hear the voice. So let's go.
So I just read an article saying that the House just passed a bill that they're going to automatically register men from 18 to 26 for war. Okay? And all I want to say is to America, good luck with that. These new little niggas are TikTokers, baby. These motherfuckers ain't gonna fight no war. We gonna die. You gonna die. You might as well just keep motherfucking investing money in your guns, because these new kids, you want to send these new kids to fight these wars? The TikTok fucking hip shakers? Out of your mind. This is a new America, baby. This ain't the 19 motherfucking. Nah, like seriously, you gonna draft these kids that be TikToking all day to fight them? What? Most likely what? Them Russians? Them motherfuckers that be fighting bears and shit? And motherfucking climbing mountains to go to school and whatever? I got some news for you, motherfuckers.
Oh, no, but for real, I mean, the thing is like these young people. I mean, people talk about well, they're doing the TikTok dances. It's like, yeah, I'd rather do a TikTok dance than die on the battlefield. For what? For Nabisco. I'd rather die. I'd rather dance to TikTok than die on the battlefield for General Dynamics or for Raytheon. Come on now. You're not gonna, you know, I mean, it feels like these young people have their priorities in place. Now, somebody also talked about this as well. I think this is going to be kind of interesting too. Oh. So they're basically stitching what Cardi B just said.
Saying that the House just passed a bill that they're going to automatically register men from 18 to 26 for war. Okay? And all I want to say is to America, good luck with that. These new little niggas are TikTokers, baby. These motherfuckers ain't gonna fight no war. We gonna die. You gonna die.
I mean, she's not wrong. All right, she's a little wrong. It's not that these men are automatically going to war. It's that they were automatically registered for the draft, which means in the event of a draft, they have to go. But they're not gonna. To be real, America doesn't really do much to inspire loyalty in its civilians. Our government repeatedly shows that they don't have civilians' best interests at heart. The prison system, justice system, housing situation, taxes, higher education, healthcare. We're not a broke country. We have the resources to make sure that our citizens are healthy, educated, and safe. We have them. We choose to apply them elsewhere. It's a huge middle finger to American citizens. Gen Z's got no motivation to fight for a country that makes it so that they need to have 2 jobs and a roommate in order to live in basic housing. I think a bunch of fucking TikTokers are going to get up in arms and fight for a country that's banning TikTok. Now, back in my day, it was different. We got indoctrinated Helldiver style.
Now, everybody stand up. Put your hands on your heart. Hand on my heart. And pledge your undying allegiance to this nation.
So we don't question shit as much as they do. We were told America is the greatest country in the world, and we just believed it. And it is, if you've never been anywhere else. Wait, so y'all got healthcare and free college?
Yes, bro, our taxes cover it.
And the police don't shoot you? Bro, don't nobody shoot nobody. It is never that deep. So yeah, I think if a draft happens, it'll just be a bunch of Gen Z going to jail. Like they'll just go to jail and get free housing and food for a while. Either that or they'll injure themselves in a way that makes it so that they can't fight. Like it'll be one of those. I don't think that Gen Z are just going to start going over and fighting for the country. I don't think that's what's going to happen. And I know I'm going to get people talk about how come it's just the men getting drafted? What happened to equality? I need y'all to understand that men are making that decision to not include women in the draft. Women make up less than a third of the House of Representatives. You want to complain about the inequality, complain about it to the people making things unequal. Because what you're complaining about is patriarchy. But those are my thoughts. You let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.
So yeah. The thing is like look, I mean, what they trying to do? You know, I mean, that's what they're trying to do ultimately. And so I think that if you are a young person between the ages of 18 and 26, I implore you to think about what you would do if they were to reintroduce the draft. If they said you have to fight these people abroad for the interests of corporations or go to prison, what would you be willing to do? Would you be willing to do what the IOF, what the IDF did in Gaza to all of those poor Black and brown people, because yes, there are Black people in Gaza? Would you be willing to do to them a genocide with what essentially what the corporate dictators want you to do in our military? It's not above the realm of possibility. The reason why is because there is precedence. Think about all of the people murdered by the corporate dictators via the US government. Who dropped 2 nukes on Japan? Who murdered hundreds of thousands of Koreans? The Vietnamese. What about what happened in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan? Like, it is not above the realm of possibility that you will also be committing genocides. Are you willing to do that for some housing, some healthcare, and no student loans? Are you willing to do that to other people? And if they try to force you to do it, are you willing to say no and go behind bars? The reality needs to set in. And yes, I'm going to have a talk with my nephew about this. I don't want to see him go through this in any way, shape, or form. But question is what are you willing to lay your life down for? This is why I say, young men, you need to pay attention to exactly what's going on. And remember, foreign policy and domestic policy are directly linked. They're intertwined. And it literally affects your very lives. And young women, and to all my beloved they thems, you may not be directly affected, but you will be indirectly affected as well. Make sure the young cisgendered men in your lives see this. So yeah, choices are going to be made. Are you going to meet the moment? Like the stream, go ahead. That pushes me out into the algorithm. Thank you so very much to everyone. Let's go to the chat. Check the rock. Yes. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Free Palestine. Hang on. Let me go here. Thank you for the tip on Rockman Roger. He said, never forget American freedmen were original scabs. You see, when we were racially discriminated against for blue-collar jobs 100 years ago, the unions went on strike for usual things, so the boss class hired our ancestors to take those jobs. If we were included in those jobs with union protection, we would have been right there with them on the picket line. Moral of the story, if you wish solidarity, address our needs also. That is also true. Hold up. Yes. So they did this. It was through the AFL. The AFL was created. So and they had a lot of racists were used to discriminate against Black people because they were saying that Black people were taking our jobs. And so the CIO came in and had solidarity with, the Black people who were working in these the industries and the factories. So it's actually an article that was written out of Black Agenda Report. I gotta pull it back up. But the issue is that solidarity, we were used as scabs to go against a lot of the white union workers because, well, we didn't have money. We needed a job. We were broke, plus on top of it, we had to deal with white supremacy. We had to deal with the system as it is, especially in Jim Crow South. So, well, that's why a lot of Black people were scabs back in the day. But if the unions actually embraced Black people, then yes, like Roger said, we would have been in the picket lines along with them. We could have, been along with them in the unions. But unfortunately, some of the union members were racist and they didn't want us to be along with them in the unions, especially in the AFL. So the CIOs saw that, and they picked up the slack and they said, hey, Black people come along with us. So this goes to show that, yeah, Roger, yeah, you're right. You're right, bro. Next one. Thank you so much. He says, one, well, I guess promising citizenship, not working on migrants either. LOL. Two, you said Joe signed into law, but it hasn't been brought up for a Senate vote yet. And an excerpt from Reason magazine is likely to pick it up by the Democrat-controlled Senate because of numerous amendments regarding abortion, diversity efforts, and transgender and medical treatments. The reason why I said that it was law was because of what it actually says on the government website. It says National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024, HR 2670, right? If you go down here, tracker says introduced, passed House, passed Senate, resolving differences to president, became law. It says it has been made into law. So if it hasn't, then this government, Congress.gov is wrong. But on Congress.gov, it says it became law. Introduced April 18th, 2023. Hang on. Wait, what? Did I just? Yeah, for fiscal year 2024. Wait, how did they write that a year ago? No. Latest action, December 22nd, 2023 became law. Did I mess something up? Hold on. Let me see something. I think Roger caught me slipping. Hang on. I could have swore. Hang on. Oh, wait a minute. I think I found it. Hang on. Let's see. Well, allow me to. Ah, okay. Hang on. Okay. I think I realized what I did wrong. Okay. Whoop. Hang on. I remember. It's HR 8070. Okay. All right. So, yes, you are correct, Roger. I did last year's. I don't know why. I was doing research, and for some reason, sorry, Roger. Yeah. So, yeah, introduced, passed House. It hasn't passed the Senate or the President or became law. But they essentially, yes, it did pass the House. So I do stand corrected. Thank you very much for that, Roger, for correcting me. Okay. So, yeah. And if you guys want to take a look at this, I'll put it in the chat as well. My apologies. I got it wrong. It wasn't law yet. Okay. But potentially, Joe Biden can still become your boss if you if you decide to if he decides to sign this into law. Which I think he will because it's the defense bill. I mean, Roger, actually, can you answer that for me? What do you think? And those of you in the chat, what do you think? Do you think that Joe Biden will sign it? I'm like 98% sure that he will sign something like this with that automatic registration to the Selective Service. I don't think he's going to go, well, no, I'm not going to sign it. But I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to the rest of the chat. Let me check here. I can't believe I missed that. That was an oversight from. I mean, nobody's perfect, but damn. Okay. Hang on. Oh, Jacqueline says you're not fat, JB. Don't put yourself down like that. I'm fluffy. I am fluffy, Jacqueline. Chima says the problem is that Western society is too quick to blame systemic issues on individual mistakes. That is true. I definitely agree with that. Randall Online says, I see the VA system as another front for moving money around and hiding it behind helping veterans. Let me see. Black Unit Griffin says, my little brother was in the Navy, but it was a terrible traumatic experience for him, and he's still suffering for it. Ooh, I'm so sorry, Black Unit Griffin. Extra Bulia says, I'm 55 and never seen Top Gun because F that propaganda. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'm still gonna. Oh. Professor Noam Chomsky just died. Condolences to him, to his family. He may have not been, I may have had some disagreements with him, but there was some things that he was correct on. So I definitely will say that. But I'm sorry to his family, and thank you very much to letting me know, Zoe. Yeah, so I know he was beloved by a lot of people on the left. So thank you so very much for that. Ghost Nest says the corporations have combined with the state as Chomsky predicted. Yep. What he said, oh, is Cardi being based again? Yeah. Cardi B sometimes has decent takes once in a while. Oh, my goodness. Who is this? Adolf invented country, rock, hip hop, gospel, and more. Says America is the best country in the world. That came by way of fighting. Disgusting. I mean, it can be. It can be, but because of the corporations and the parasite class is preventing America to be the best country in the world. It's preventing it. I'll just say that. Waddy says, I saw a documentary about the Buffalo Soldiers the other day and noticed how often they were promised things that never came to pass. They remained loyal even though they were ripped off at every turn. That's true. A lot of our service members are ripped off. Sweaty Freddy says, my mother tried to say that ish this very morning. A woman who had to get divorced from her second husband in order to get my dad's Medicare. Oh my gosh. Wow. Roger, I can't say that on stream. I cannot. Roger, you trying to get me in trouble. My goodness. So he says, so many times we've been held back or had the wool pulled over our eyes to curtail revolutionary sentiment. Absolutely. You ain't said nothing but the truth. Helpful Harm says, I think it has to pass this fall. I don't. Yeah. I don't think that they would. I honestly don't think that they would let it just go. They want to keep, I mean, the defense bill is basically the bread and butter, you know. Golden Monarch says, what hasn't Biden passed that has done the opposite of helping the American people? Roger says the question is not will he sign, but will Zoomers go? I think that a lot of Zoomers won't go. But I think some Zoomers will go because out of fear of prison. But it's up to those of us who are, especially Gen X and millennials, we need to tell them, nah, we will support you. Look, I am willing. We are willing as millennials. I can speak for us. We will put money on your commissary card if you decide to conscientiously object to fighting for the corporate dictators. We'll put money on your commissary card. All right. We will visit. We will make sure you get everything you need while you're in there. You know. Crazy. The Empyrean says I'm 66 and I haven't seen it yet too. Oh. Roger Meadow says I checked, he hasn't died. Wait, Noam Chomsky hasn't? He's still alive? I mean, that's good, but I haven't been. I've been talking to y'all, so I don't know. I'm just going by what people say in the chat. So if it's not, then good, but he's old. He's old. So yes, I'm gonna head on out because I'm hungry. Even though I had a salad earlier, went right through me. Just yeah, but I'm gonna be heading on out. And just Zoe said the Jacobin reported. Hold up, let me check this. This is so from hang on. Jacobin says we remember Noam Chomsky. This looks like a latest article. I think he's still alive because let me share this. Here's another article below it. Says from Media News says renowned linguist Noam Chomsky recovers in Brazilian hospital. That's from 2 hours ago as well. So I don't know if he actually passed. David says he has been sick lately. Yeah, I mean, he could be on his way. I mean, he is up there. He's lived a long life. So I don't know. But Zoe said, I know you had a stroke. My bad, James. It's okay. I'm kind of, with all due respect, it's just like at his advanced age, if I get the news that he passed away, I won't be surprised. I'll be a little saddened, but I won't be surprised. You know what I mean? Because you're expecting it. At his age, you're expecting it. So, But thank you very much for being vigilant on that, Zoe. So one of the things that I'm going to also do is I'm going to share with you guys this. So of course, Marcus Cage will be this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern on this channel. So be sure to tune into that. Also, this Thursday, like I said earlier, join us on RBN. We're going to be talking about reparations. We're going to have Marcel Dixon, Jana Mason, Khalif Mitchell, and Ali Bay joining us to have this discussion. How does this repair America? This will be live at 5 this Thursday on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I will give you guys the link so that you guys can watch this Thursday. It's going to be a great discussion. I think everyone needs to be here to listen to it. Whether you are an American descendant of slaves or not, you need to be here for this discussion. And yes, this will be on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, and Twitter. So if you guys would like to watch, you guys can watch there as well. So that's going to be a great discussion. Marcus Cage will be on this Saturday, and and Andre Stackhouse will be here on Tuesday at 2. So that's going to be a great discussion as well. So it's going to be a very busy week for me. If anybody knows, oh boy. Yeah. I'm going to be exhausted by the time I hit my birthday. Baby, I'm going to be... But it's all good. It's all good. So, and also I'll be getting into the readings of my books. Oh, make sure I get them down here. Okay. So, of course, continuing the reading of Water in the Spirit by Melodoma Patrice-Some. We're going to continue the reading of that. Continue also in the reading of Prejudential by Margaret Kimberly. We just started that book, so it's going to be a great read. And then continuing the reading of The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. So we'll be doing those as well later this week, which will be a fun time. So I'll be doing my readings as well, trying to get into that. And so, oh, by the way, did you guys know I got a merch store? I've had one for a while. It's just I don't talk about it much. But if you guys would like to, you guys can always go to my merch store. It doesn't show up on here because I'm demonetized now, but I want to share this. It's a Jaybefaunt store. If you guys would like to, I have different things on there. I haven't been able to get anything else for myself because I don't have the money to get it, but I have the Leave the World Better Than You Found It hat. It comes in different colors. It's really cool. You can get it in pink, red, gray, black, white. I also have the official Jaybefaunt channel hat. I also have a Forehead Kisses hat. Isn't that fun? That's great. So I have a Forehead Kisses hat if you guys would like to get that. Then also you have official shirts and hoodies as well. Mugs. I also have tote bags. Leave the World Better Than You Found It as well. And yeah, so I'm thinking about doing some more when I get a chance so that you guys can see. But yeah, I think it'll be pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. So so great. And I tried to get the biggest size as I can because as somebody that is a little bit on the fluffy side, I know I want people to be able to, see and, watch and support, those who may be a little bit more fluffier like me. So I'll put that in the chat as well, just in case. Oh, let me go back. Okay. Just in case anybody wants to support the channel through the store and get some merch as well. So I'll put that in there. All right. And so, yeah. So that's pretty much what is the news of the day. I wanted to end with something funny, but I didn't have anything planned. But it's going to be a great week, so I'm excited. And yes, we will also be discussing the Tulsa race massacre victims, how they were denied reparations on the reparations panel this Thursday on RBN. So if you guys have not, we're going to talk about that too, because I think that's important. So yeah. But anywho, going to head on out. Anyway, you guys have yourself a great day. I'm starting to sound like Danny Hyphon the way I'm pronouncing my words. But it's all good because Danny is a friend and Danny is awesome. Anyway, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. Smoke them if you got them, drink them if you got them. If you ain't got them, then watch something funny because joy is revolutionary, or read because reading is fundamental. Please make sure to always keep in mind your fellow people in the world, especially those who are suffering under the yoke of the empire. We have to change this empire into one that is against the people to one that is for the people. So you have to have solidarity with the people in order to fight for them. So thank you so very much for watching. Mwah! Forehead kisses to every single one of you, and you. And also you in the back right there. Yeah. Hey. Stop picking up your toes. It's nasty. Do it when the camera's off. All right. Take care, everybody. Have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you so very much for watching my channel, and I deeply appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you wish to support the channel further, so I can keep bringing you content that is educational and informative, you can become a patron on patreon.com/Jaybefaunt. You can find that link in the pinned comment or in the description below. No matter what you give, you'll be supporting independent media and education that helps make the world better. Thank you so much, and you can watch more of my content here. Mwah. Forehead kisses, and have a beautiful day.